This episode is brought to you by Squarespace.
Alright, what's going on, gang, man? So we are back today in San Francisco. You guys know already on the channel, this is the Rokinon AF 35mm 2.8 FE. Cheap little plastic fantastic lens, but I want to test its limits and see what it's capable of doing. I've heard some good things about it. We're gonna slap this on and put you guys through on the GoPro. We're gonna go around the city and we're gonna make some photographs of Gabe. All right, let's do this. Right here, bro. Right in the middle. Come on. There. And then look at the camera.
Now, there's just something about shooting in San Francisco, especially when making portraits, that's always a blast. I mean, something about the city and the background, also the aesthetic that Gabriel and I were looking to capture, it just fit in perfectly.
And there we go.
Now, this session is more of a lifestyle / personal shoot, and it lasted a little over an hour, but the first 10-minute segment was done strictly to test the Samyang / Rokinon 35mm 2.8 lens.
All right, let's move this way. Let's do one more spot. How about over here, bro? I don't think we shot here earlier. We passed by it.
Now, generally when shooting with a 35mm focal length, I prefer something a bit faster like an f2 or an f1.8 for that matter. And that's just so that I have the ability to open up and blur a distracting background if needed. So the next couple of photos, I opened up to the max aperture on this lens, 2.8, to quickly test the shallow depth of field and how that responded in the photographs.
Not too much, just a little bit there. And look at the camera. All right, look that way now. You can put your hand down now. Your leg back like this. Maybe go like this. And then just look around like you were just doing. Have you look? Just look straight towards the green bush. Look at me. Pull your head down a little bit. Ooh. All right. Go ahead and try it out.
Now, something that I was very curious about was the autofocus speed from this lens and how it would be able to capture a moving subject. You know, was it going to be able to capture it accurately, or was it going to hunt? Being that this is somewhat of a budget third-party lens, and considering its age, it's been out for a very long time now, I wasn't expecting much.
That's one of the more solid ones. Try one more time. All right. Yeah, bro, I like it.
Alright guys, so for the rest of the shoot, we did not have much footage left of it, so you guys are going to see kind of the last photographs that we were able to pull off here. But with that said, before I get to talk about this lens, I want to hear your guys' thoughts. Comment down below really quick what you guys think of the lens so far. You know, the image quality, some of the gripes that you guys see with it. I'm keen to hear what you guys have to say, man, so leave that in the comment section down below. But with that said, let's go ahead and talk about this lens. There she is, y'all. Small but mighty, the Samyang, or Rokinon I should say, 35mm 2.8 FE lens. So So I'm going to share my thoughts on what I think about the lens here in just a second, but before we get into that, I want to just give a huge thank you and shout out to our sponsor for this episode, the good folks over at Squarespace. Squarespace is your all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Now stop really quick, ask yourself, do you have your own website at this moment where you can display your own work, you can have a dedicated space for clients to contact you, and you can even sell through an e-commerce shop? If you don't have one and you answered no, this is your chance to hop on it at a very good time. Squarespace gives you all of the tools you need to get your website up and running in minutes. They have award-winning templates to get you started, and then from there on out, you can select your own portfolio, put that together. Again, even open up your own e-commerce shop. And if you are a photographer in 2021, it's honestly the best value, in my opinion, to get your own online presence with your dedicated name. So if you guys are ready to take the next step in your photography, head over to squarespace.com/kingjapes or enter promo code kingjapes at checkout, and that's going to save you 10% off of your first purchase of a domain or a website. So if you answered no, go ahead and create that website. Links will be in the description below. Thank you, Squarespace, again, man, for sponsoring this episode. Whew. Okay, so you're probably wondering, man, why I am suited up in a hoodie. First and foremost, I have been feeling kind of down and out this entire week. I've been sick, and it's not COVID, it's nothing like that. I think it's just a common cold. But with that said, you guys, we are getting back to regular uploads, and so I wanted to just put something together today. So we have a 10-minute portrait challenge with the Samyang lens. Okay, so I'm editing as we speak. All right, so in terms of the lens itself, man, the Rokinon autofocus 35mm 2.8 FE lens is a tiny lens. I'll be honest with you, it feels really, really cheap. It almost doesn't feel like a lens that would be worthy to fit on a Sony camera. And I hate to say that because the lens actually performs fairly decent. It's a small but mighty lens. It's one of those, pieces of gear that you shouldn't let just looks and kind of, you can't just judge it by its cover and, by its build. Because when opened up at 2.8, even on the A7 III that we were shooting on, it's a fantastically sharp lens. It's more than adequate for everyday photography, maybe even travel photography, just because it's so small and tiny. Street photography, this would be a great companion to any Sony body. I say that in full confidence, even with like some of the APS-C bodies as well. It's such a light lens, and slapping this on something like a Sony A6500, you're gonna have roughly like a 55mm equivalent with that camera. But man, that would be a solid lightweight setup if that's something that you are going for. Now the lens performs well at 2.8, but in my opinion, where it shines is around f4, f5.6. You're not gonna expect out of this world bokeh. You're not going to expect the most shallow depth of field. After all, it is a max 2.8 aperture lens. But one thing that I will say though, folks, is that it does decent, as long as you're getting sharp photos where it counts, and that is for portraits in the eyes at least. I can care, less about what my background separation looks like. There's a ton of ways to get rid of distracting backgrounds without just completely trying to blur it out. And, with a lens like this at f4, you can do a lot of good things, as you guys seen in some of the photos that we were shooting, man. Like I said, not the sharpest, but sharp enough for anything that you post on Instagram, social media. You can get stuff printed with this lens and it's going to look fantastic. As a matter of fact, just to kind of back up on this kind of statement, I took the lens out for a spin as well for a grad session, and again, it performed very, very well, surprisingly. And during that session, I was shooting anywhere between like 5.6 and f8, just because there were two subjects and you wanted to have both of their kind of face and eyes in focus, and it performed well. No complaints whatsoever. I love the way this lens performs. I picked it up for $5, so to me it is absolutely worth it. But if you are looking to buy this lens new, I will say it does come with a bit of a price point, a higher price point I should say, of like $150 to $200. It really ranges because you can get them used, you can get them new. I think new they're like $200. But if you can get it used, if you can get it under $100, I think this is a great lens. In my opinion, this would very much replace any nifty 50 plastic fantastic lens that you might have in your camera bag, because one, it's a 35mm lens, it's 2.8 max aperture, and if you're looking for a very solid, you know, performing lens, this is right up there. I wouldn't say, you know, it's going to be mind-blowing, especially because of the build. I mean, listen to this thing, it's like, it's plastic, and so you might be surprised when you first hold it, but trust me, it's a performer. And so that's going to conclude my thoughts on the Rokinon Samyang autofocus 35mm 2.8 lens. Very solid performing lens. It's small, but it's mighty, and it's a perfect lens for everyday photography, street photography, portrait photography. It's a very good all-around lens in my opinion. So if you're looking for a lightweight option, you guys definitely check this lens out. I would recommend it. Really dang good for its price. Check this lens out, you guys. But that's gonna wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. As always, Minolta gang. Whew.